Welcome to the Bible Forum. This is the first Sunday in 2020. I want to talk to you about American values. American values in light of the Bible, in light of our founders, and in light of today. This is taken from an article that you can find on embassymedia.com. A Texas pastor by the name of David Barton. Use the search window, crucial factor that America needs, to help find it. To give you some background to all of this, we look at the stability that the United States has and has had since its beginning. We have had one form of government since 1789. In that time period, France has had 15. Haiti has had 23. Ecuador, 20. And that's since 1830. Philippines, 7 since 1899. South Africa, 5 just since 1931. And Thailand, 17 since 1932. South Korea, 6 since 1948. China, 4 since 1954. Ghana, 4 since 1957. Russia, 4 since 1918. Poland, 7 since 1919. Nigeria, 9 since 1922. And Afghanistan, 6 since 1923, while Iraq has had 4 since 1925. The U.S. represents 4% of the world's population. As to patents, discoveries, technology, innovation, it ranks 96%. In terms of prosperity, the United States is 4% of the world's population, is responsible for 25% of the world's gross domestic product. If you live below the American poverty level, you probably have a television, a cell phone, an air conditioner in your home, an automobile, and you eat more red meat and have more living space than the middle class in Europe. And you're in poverty. According to the World Bank for Developing Nations, it says that at $2 a day, you live in poverty. That's worldwide. In America, poverty is a family, assuming 4 people, living on less than $40,000 a year. That's why so many people want to come here. What makes the difference? Well, the difference comes from the Bible and from our commitment to living according to its precepts. And Americans knew all of that before World War II. They were told in school. They were schooled in business. They were told in church and at home. It was our culture. For example, the 250 idioms we use every day there are 250 idioms we use every day that come directly or indirectly from the Bible. Things like, by the skin of your teeth, Job 19:20. My bone cleaveth to my skin and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. Your 2 cents worth, Mark 12:41, 44. The widow who put in her last 2 mites. The leopard that can't change its spots, Jeremiah 13:23. Says, can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard his spots? The implication is, if so, then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil. It's not going to happen. The phrase sign of the times comes from Matthew 16:3. Nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes 1:9. From the cradle to the grave, Job 10:1. Fly in the ointment, Ecclesiastes 10:1. thorn in the flesh, 2 Corinthians 12:7. Handwriting on the wall, Daniel 5:5. President Teddy Roosevelt once said, quote, "The teachings of the Bible are so interwoven and intertwined with our civic and social life that it would be impossible for us to imagine what life would be if these teachings were removed." Well, we're starting to learn. As concerning our government, we have Alexander Hamilton pointing to the Bible, Luke 11:20, in support of a written constitution. John Adams pointed to Jeremiah 17:9 to defend the concept of the separation of powers. James Kent pointed to 1 Samuel 7 in support of circuit courts. Ben Franklin started the first hospital in America based on Luke 10:35, the Good Samaritan. Elias Boudinot, President of Congress during the Revolution, founded the American Bible Society. He was one of those who showed George Washington where the Bible said we need to have a national celebration of Thanksgiving. We used to know there were 7 different forms of government, and that the free market form of government we have came from 5 Bible verses. 1 Timothy 5:8, 2 Thessalonians 3:10, Matthew 25, Luke 19, and Matthew 20. The founders chose a free market form based on Exodus 18:21 and Deuteronomy 1, verses 15 and 16. Rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, rulers of 10s. And Deuteronomy 16:18, judges and officers shalt thou make in all thy gates to judge the people with just judgment. Our system is called a republican form of government. Such a government requires able men, men who have the fear of God, men of truth, hating covetousness. Our Constitution specifies that states shall have a republican form of government. We are not a democracy. Article 4, Section 4 reads, a government having a chief state who is not a monarch, a chief of state who is not a monarch and is usually a president. Also, a nation or other political unit having such a government in which supreme power is held by the citizens entitled to vote and is exercised by elected officers and representatives governing according to law. Also, a nation or other political unit having such a form of government. The least religious president, Andrew Jackson, is quoted as saying, "The Bible is the rock on which our republic rests." The father of American education, Dr. Benjamin Rush, signer of the Declaration of Independence in 1789, said, "The Bible must be the basis upon which we establish our education system. Any society that takes the Bible out of schools will end up spending all their time fighting crime." So, look at our crime rate since 1963, when we took Bible reading and prayer out of the schools. From 1963 to 1993, crime shot up 600%. The population increased only 30%. So, why did we do that? U.S. Supreme Court decision, Abington versus Shemp, Murray versus Corlett, June 17, 1963, required it. The High Court decision included the sentence, "What we're doing, removing the Bible from the school, is without historical or legal precedent." So why did we do it? Well, the decision was influenced greatly by the testimony of a psychologist, Dr. Grayzel. He testified as to what he believed would happen if children were allowed to read the Bible. Several of his quotes are part of the High Court's written decision. One reads, quote, "If portions of the New Testament were read without explanation, they could be and have been psychologically harmful to children." Some of us are old enough to remember that when the Bible was read in school, it was always the Old Testament. Mostly Proverbs, Psalms, things like that. Always Old Testament. Why? We had Jews in our school system. Being fair. The reality, when the Bible is not read in schools, it is seldom read in any subsequent period of life. That from Dr. Benjamin Rush, father of the American school system. 50 years later, the crime rate was making the point. We have politicians who think killing babies in the womb is right and good. Of course, not for the baby. We would not have the spiraling debt we now have, deficit spending, spending money you don't have. The Bible's against it. Proverbs 22:7, Romans 13:8, Deuteronomy 15:6. The Bible categorizes the estate tax. I don't know why I put state in there. The estate tax is the most immoral of all taxes. Proverbs 13:22, 1 Chronicles 28:8, Ezekiel 46:18. Jesus spoke out against the capital gains tax. Luke 19:13 through 26, Matthew 25:14 through 29. Progressive taxes versus capitation taxation. Leviticus 27:32, Numbers 18:28 29, Deuteronomy 14:22. Arming Islam. Why did we do that? Genesis 12:3, Proverbs 105:8, Psalm 122:6, Zechariah 2:7 through 9. Help Israel's enemies, God will not help you. Gun control, the Bible doesn't talk about it. But it does talk about the heart of mankind. Matthew 7:21 through 23. Evil thoughts, fornications, thefts, murders, and wickedness all come from within the heart of man. Today, the average American home has 4.4 Bibles, and 95% of Americans have never read it. Certainly not read it through. Joshua 1:8 says, "This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success." And if we do not, apparently we will go the way of every other civilization, something we seem to be doing today. And who knows what leadership we're going to get in the future. The Bible indicates that people, nations, get the leadership they deserve. The only exception, if and when God is working to move nations toward his purposes. Are we there today? Is that what's going on? I think so.